Okay, what's happening, everybody? It's been a it's been a while since I've done anything in the ICP space. Not to say that I haven't been following, not closely, to be honest, but you know, life has been busy, work, family, um, and other things that have been going on in the past few months. But some of you may also know that my X account got suspended, and I'm still trying to resolve it, but it's taking a little bit longer than expected, but it's also a little bit out of my hands as well. So I've been speaking with Definity to see if they can help. um, I need an official letter, ideally from Definity, just to state that I was never trying to impersonate another account on X. And once I get that, it should be okay. But until then, we just have to sit tight and be patient. But yeah, look, I think we're at the tail end of the bull run, so to speak. Obviously, Bitcoin's been doing fantastic. Looks like Ethereum is doing well too. It just hit its new all-time high, I think, last month, and XRP's near its all-time highs, etc., etc. So it looks like we're shifting towards altcoins, but nothing is given, and we see that, as usual, many members of the ICP community are complaining about price action. But what's new, right? I don't know. I think I've never been one to base my investment decision on short-term price action, and I think that's a very dangerous game to play, because then you just end up chasing coins that are perceived to be doing better than yours, and I don't think that's a very safe game to play in the highly manipulated crypto markets. But yeah, look, I think just from my observations over the past few months, obviously the biggest announcement from the Definity Foundation has been caffeine AI, and I think the rollout so far has looked very promising. We see a lot of people, with some really good ideas building on ICP using caffeine.ai. And I don't know, I'm still waiting for my code, and maybe I'll just have to wait till the official launch when it's all available for the general public. But either way, I'm okay. I think it's coming in sometime in September, isn't it? Or if not, then once again, we sit tight and we remain patient. But yeah, look, I think that has been a great announcement. Obviously, we're competing with a lot of sort of like vibe coding tools in the Web2 space as well. But I think the whole enhanced orthogonal persistence, EOP, is really what sets apart what caffeine is trying to do. Well, not just EOP, but just the fact that you can update your app and not have to worry about losing any of the existing data that is already inside the app or the website or the blog or whatever it may be. So yeah, look, I'm always just looking at what the team's doing, what Definity's doing, and aside from caffeine.ai, the roadmap, they're hitting their milestones regularly. Lots of good announcements coming. Obviously, they've set up an office in San Francisco because Donald Trump is trying to establish the US as the crypto capital of the world. Whether that eventuates or not remains to be seen, but I think it's not a bad move to also have a larger presence in San Francisco. I will say though, excuse me, excuse me. I will say though that I do have some reservations about the whole caffeine.ai being built on Claude, which is obviously a United States based AI platform. I think it's got the backing of both Google and Amazon. So it's definitely, part of the whole Silicon Valley big tech bro community. So, my concerns with that is just if the Claude business model, doesn't work out as intended, and this AI bubble for some reason bursts, what's going to happen to the code for caffeine? Is that going to be safe? So yeah, look, I just thought it might have been better to have maybe built caffeine on a more neutral platform like an open source platform like DeepSeek. But once again, I'm not an AI expert, so I'm not speaking from a place of authority. But just the whole geopolitical situation, which I'm acutely aware of. I just think that putting too many eggs in the United States basket may be also a potential risk, especially when originally Definity based in Switzerland is a neutral sort of like location. I think if they try to, how would I say, push the narrative towards the whole Western sphere of influence, that may end up alienating people in the BRICS nations, in the what they like to call the global majority or the global South. But yeah, look, everything's still up in the air. Everything's still early days. So, it's just an observation based on, geopolitical tensions that are happening, whether it be with the United States and Russia, the United States and China, the United States against the rest of the world with the tariffs, et cetera, et cetera. I think there are a lot of different sides to the story. I won't get too political here, but I just think that there's so much propaganda out there, and a lot of people, especially in the United States, aren't really seeing the big picture, the writing on the wall, so to speak. But that's, I'm not here to, tell people in the United States what to do. I'm just trying to look after myself. But, just from an investor's perspective, I just think that the more that Definity can stay neutral, that'll help realize the vision of a world computer, which is what obviously the Definity Foundation and ICP are trying to achieve. And a world computer isn't just a world that is serving the interests of the Western nations. Obviously, a world computer is a platform that serves both the West and the East, the North and the South. But yeah, look, I think in terms of price action, I have no idea what's going to happen with ICP short term in this bull run. To be honest, I think it can do well because of the whole AI narrative. But at the same time, I'm prepared to have a bull market that forgets about ICP, that leaves ICP behind. Because it's very obvious, even within the crypto space, that people overlook ICP because they don't understand the importance of having everything fully on chain. They don't understand the importance of divorcing themselves from Google or AWS servers. So as Dom likes to put it, a lot of it is decentralization theater. But the market needs to mature, and this is something that I think a lot of people in the ICP community are trying to, really inform people, not just within the crypto community, but in the greater general public, that there are massive upsides to hosting websites and apps on the ICP platform, fully decentralized platform, everything where everything can be hosted on chain, not just the ledger and the tokens, but also whether it be photos, images, videos, all types of data. So yeah, look, I think we just need to be, hope for the best, and I guess just be prepared for the worst, because, and whether it's the worst or not is once again entirely subjective, because, if you're part of, especially if you're part of like 8-year gang, like I am, for example, where we have, like 8-year staked neurons, non-dissolving a lot of the time, we're in it for the long run. And obviously there are people within the ICP community that are in it for short-term gains as well. And obviously we see that dichotomy, we see that conflict within the community. But I just think that, once again, being a rather distant observer on Twitter for the past few months, it's very obvious to see who's trying to build the community and who's trying to break it apart. And let me just say, like, if you're part of such a small community like ICP and you're being antagonistic and you're not actually trying to build bridges, that's a horrible way to sort of like start your path down this whole Web3 trustless, I guess, revolution that's about to take place. Because when you're on social media, everything is is out there for the public to scrutinize, and people do delete their X accounts and come back with different pseudonyms, et cetera, and yeah, you can sort of game the system that way. But I just think that at the end of the day, real recognizes real. And you can be as dishonest as you want, but it's not doing you any favors. You can be as you can try to, I guess, extract as much value as you can from unwitting and rather naive investors in the ICP community. But long term, that's doing you a disservice, because at the end of the day, what it really means is that you don't back yourself to be able to generate wealth in an honest way. Like, you feel like, I don't know, you feel like you have to cheat in order to get what you want. But I mean, if you really trusted yourself, if you really backed yourself, you would never want to sort of game the system that way. I don't know, like, obviously people come from different backgrounds, different circumstances, but at the end of the day, there's no excuse to not try to live a life of integrity, but each to their own, right? And, I've seen, obviously, Bobby O take quite a bit of flack recently for what he's doing with the Crypto Cloud Foundation, with the Crypto Cloud meme and NFTs. People talking about how Bobby, is now just a, like a shitcoin, pumper or whatever. But it's not as simple. It's not as black and white as a lot of people like to paint it. There's a lot of nuance that is missing. Like, I mean, and I'm going to be 100% transparent. Bobby and I are close in the ICP community. I count Bobby as one of the few friends that I have in the ICP community, and he reached out to me while I'm in this sort of like, I don't know, exodus phase, and how long that'll last, once again, I don't know. But Bobby was like, I want to get you involved more in the crypto cloud, I guess, scene. And look, I want to help as well. So I said, look, I'm happy to help where needed, and where I can, while I'm still out of the whole X community, volunteering to do some admin work if needed, etc., etc. But Bobby, out of the goodness of his heart, he gave me, some cloud tokens, a significant amount, may I add, and there were no strings attached to it. Absolutely not. He wasn't like, well, no, you need to do, X, Y, and Z, or you need to, do this, that, and that. There was nothing like that. It was just like, I want you to have some of the cloud, so I'm going to send it across to you. And once again, to be fully transparent, I haven't done anything with it. It's still in my wallet. Because once again, I'm in it for the long run. And whether crypto cloud succeeds or not, obviously no one knows. But as a sign of good faith back to Bobby, I'm also just holding on to it, and because I see the potential there as well. But yeah, look, I just think just be prepared mentally, emotionally, to potentially have a bull run that's doesn't, where ICP doesn't do as well as many in the community think it might. And once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I mean, XRP, last bull cycle, it didn't really have a great run because of the whole SEC, court ruling, the case, the case that's finally ended for XRP and Ripple. And then it's been said a million times, I know, but Amazon and its stock, its shares, wasn't it like 9 years? They were like severely underpriced for 9 years. Like, I mean, and ICP is still only in its fourth year? Like, we just celebrated the 4th anniversary this year. So, and it's by far the most advanced form of cryptographic, technology that we have in the whole crypto space. It's not just a token, like it's trying to build the new internet. And, looking at what Definity's doing, I think they're doing a fantastic job. Looking at what's happening in the world, whether it be big tech, just trying to just take everyone's data, more like, and it's more blatant every day, changing the rules, whether it be, with, especially around, ownership of digital assets, the right to repair, cybersecurity. All of these things aren't getting any better right now. Like, the whole world in many ways is turning to caca, and maybe it's planned, maybe it's an orchestrated demolition of the existing Web 2, world to roll out, to offer the solution, which is Web 3. Whether it's, cleverly orchestrated behind the scenes, or whether it's just that the powers that be, have lost control of, the world. Who knows? I mean, I tend to honestly think that it's more like a planned rollout. But either way, the first sort of like coins that'll do well or are doing well, obviously Bitcoin, the OG, is doing well, fantastically well this bull run. Then we have, I guess, Ethereum, which is also doing well. And probably the ISO coins will do well. Probably a few coins in the DeFi space I anticipate will do well too. And with ICP, also making a big play in the whole Bitcoin DeFi space. I think that, and its AI narrative potentially could see it do very well, obviously this bull run. But once again, I think there are gatekeepers within the crypto community, and I don't think it potentially might not be ICP's time yet. And I'm comfortable with that as well, because once again, I'm a long-term investor when it comes to ICP. And until, I see, I don't know, like Dom doing lines of coke in Ibiza or something like that, and the whole Definity team just falling apart at the seams, then I remain as bullish, as positive as ever on ICP and the Definity Foundation. It's just, I believe that, they will, come true on their promise to roll out a better version of the internet fully on chain. So, that's just my, my thoughts, just, I guess, wrapped up in this. How long is this video? How long have we been recording for? This 20 or so minute video. But yeah, look, I still think that ICP is the biggest asymmetric bet that you could make in the whole crypto space at this point in time. But once again, what do I know? I'm just another investor out here. But I just think that people also need to be cognizant of the fact that, if you take out Ethereum and if you take out Bitcoin, we're looking at a total market cap of about $1 trillion. And that's tiny. That's like a drop in the bucket when you look at the, investment opportunities as a whole. Like, I mean, if you're looking at, the S&P 500, if you're looking at the NASDAQ, if you're looking at, the real estate market, if you're looking at gold, and all these other sort of like markets out there, that's easily 500 trillion plus. And we're not even counting like anything that's happening in China, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of money out there that can, and I think eventually will, transition over to the crypto space, but it still needs to mature. We're still, and once again, it's been repeated, obviously non-stop all the time, but we're still very early, and I think right now all it is just trying to, if you're an investor, doing your best to stay informed, and if you like the direction that ICP is heading in, then help to spread the word, in the best way that you can, just to let people know that it isn't just all doom and gloom. I mean, this whole fear porn that is running rampant in, I guess, how would I say, the mass media and in social media. Everyone's just like, the world's going to end, and maybe the world will end temporarily, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a silver lining to every, storm cloud. And one of those silver linings, I truly believe, is ICP. And, people can ignore it now because we're not at a critical point, I guess, for many things, even though we are very close to it, I believe. But, like, ICP is really trying to solve a lot of serious problems that are happening in the world today. So, as somebody that is an optimist, I would like to invest in optimistic investments, optimistic opportunities, opportunities that can do wonders for mankind. So, it has been a long video, and this video hasn't been in Japanese, obviously, but I just thought my thoughts would be better conveyed in my native tongue of English. And yeah, look, hopefully I can be back on X soon. And I do plan to post more, videos on YouTube about, ICP obviously and what's happening in the ecosystem. But yeah, look, I just wanted to let everyone know that in the community, especially, that I'm still here. I'm still very positive on ICP and many developments in the the ICP ecosystem, whether it be Jesse, with his work that he's doing with the DAO, and many other people, like Robin Net with obviously his NFTs, and maybe he's developing other stuff right now, like games and stuff. Like I haven't been in the loop, but yeah, look, there's a lot of people like John with Motoko as well, with the Motoko NFTs and all the other collections and all the things that he's doing with the crazy art that he does. There's a lot of great people in the community, and I look forward to reconnecting with a lot of people. Agido Val with his NFTs and everything. Look, maybe if you're super negative on ICP, and you're you count yourself as somebody in the community, maybe it's time to have a break like I did for the last 3-4 months. Like, because at the end of the day, your mental health is more important than anything else. And I don't know, like, if you're such a doomer and gloomer about ICP, maybe it's time to sell and move on. Like, I mean, life's too short to hold a grudge. Life's too short to just be mad. There's so many good things happening out here in the world. You got to see the forest through the trees. Like, but once again, who am I? Like, I'm just another dude, but I'm enjoying my life. And regardless of what happens to ICP, but I do think that ICP will succeed, and I'm excited for the journey ahead. So yeah, look, that was just once again my thoughts, and hope to be able to reconnect with a lot of you again soon. Until then, take it easy.